Have you ever woken up, but felt like you were still dreaming? You try to move, but you can't. A dark figure watches from the corner of the room. Sleep paralysis, right? But what if it doesn't go away? What if the figures stay, following you when you're awake? Tonight, we uncover the terrifying reality of sleep paralysis and those who disappear without a trace. Have you ever experienced something similar? Let us know in the comments. I never believed in ghosts. I still don't, at least not in the way most people do. But I believe in something now. It started about a month after I moved into my new apartment. It wasn't anything special, just a small, one-bedroom place in an older building, the kind that had character, as real estate agents would say. It was cheap, quiet, and had plenty of space for my artwork. That was all I needed. At first, it was just the little things. The creaking of the floorboards at night, the occasional flicker of the overhead light, the feeling that the apartment was colder than it should be. I chalked it up to an old building's quirks and the stress of moving. I was working late into the night, barely sleeping, pushing myself to create. I figured my mind was just playing tricks on me, but then came the dreams. The first time, I woke up with a heavy weight on my chest. My body refused to move. I was awake, I was sure of it, but my limbs felt pinned down by something unseen. My breath came in short gasps, and my heartbeat pounded in my ears. And then, I saw it. A figure stood in the corner of my room. It was just a shape at first, darker than the shadows around it. I couldn't see its face, but I knew somehow, instinctively, that it was watching me. The longer I stared, the closer it seemed to get. I tried to scream, but my lips wouldn't part. My throat was locked tight. Then, suddenly, it was gone. I bolted upright, gasping, my body drenched in sweat. My room was empty. The air was thick with silence, the kind that presses against your skin. I told myself it was just sleep paralysis, something I'd read about before but never experienced. A common phenomenon, nothing supernatural. But the next night, it happened again, and again, and again. Each time, the figure was closer. The darkness around it seemed to pulse, shifting like it was breathing. I could hear something now, whispers, just at the edge of my hearing, unintelligible but insistent. I stopped sleeping. I'd stay up until exhaustion forced me under, and when I did sleep, I'd wake up paralyzed, unable to escape the thing standing over me. I started seeing glimpses of it during the day, just out of the corner of my eye. A dark shape in the mirror's reflection, a silhouette standing in the hallway when I turned my head. But when I looked directly at it, there was nothing there. I told myself I was hallucinating. Sleep deprivation could do that. I started drinking more coffee, leaving every light in my apartment on, keeping music playing just to break the silence. But none of it helped. And then, one day, I saw it in a place it had no right to be. I was in a cafe, trying to sketch, trying to focus on anything except the crushing exhaustion pulling at my body. The place was full of people, talking, laughing, normal, safe. I reached for my coffee, and when I looked up, I saw a dark figure standing outside the window. It wasn't moving. It wasn't looking around like a normal passerby. It was facing me. It was watching me. I blinked, and it was gone. The world around me carried on as if nothing had happened, but I couldn't shake the ice in my veins. It had never followed me outside before. That night, I didn't go home right away. I walked for hours, hoping the exhaustion would make me too tired to dream, hoping that whatever was happening would stop. But when I finally did return, I found something waiting for me. My bedroom mirror had been moved. It sat at an angle, reflecting my bed. I hadn't touched it, and in its reflection, I saw something standing beside my bed, waiting. I didn't go inside right away. I stood in the doorway, staring at the mirror, my breath shallow, my heart hammering against my ribs. The figure in the reflection was motionless, but I had the terrible sense that it was aware of me, that if I stepped inside, it would move. I wanted to turn around, to leave, to sleep anywhere but here. But where would I go? What would I even say to someone if I showed up at their door in the middle of the night? It's just exhaustion. It's just stress. That's what I told myself as I forced my feet forward. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. I took slow, careful steps toward the mirror, each one heavier than the last. My pulse pounded in my ears. I stopped just before it. The figure in the reflection didn't move. It was closer now, no longer just a vague shadow. Its shape was wrong. Too tall, too thin. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, like it was studying me. I didn't want to see its face. With a shaking hand, I reached out and turned the mirror toward the wall. My fingers were ice cold, my skin clammy. I stood there for a long time, staring at the blank back of the mirror, waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. That night, I slept with every light on. I still woke up to sleep paralysis. Only this time, I could feel something breathing against my ear. The days that followed blurred together. I lost track of time, lost track of when I had last eaten, last spoken to anyone. The exhaustion settled deep into my bones, making my movements sluggish, my thoughts slow, and the figures were everywhere now that I saw them in reflections, always just behind me, always standing too still. I saw them in crowds, watching from the periphery, unmoving while the rest of the world carried on. I started avoiding mirrors, reflective surfaces. I kept my eyes down when I walked, but I couldn't ignore them forever. One night, I caught movement in my bathroom mirror. Not a flicker, not a trick of the light. Deliberate movement that I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see, but I did. The reflection wasn't mine anymore. I was still standing in front of the mirror, but the face staring back at me wasn't mine. It looked like me, same eyes, same mouth, but the expression was wrong. The mouth was slightly open, the lips curved into a too wide grin, the teeth just a little too sharp. And then it blinked. I stumbled back, slamming into the wall. My reflection stayed in place, still smiling, still watching. The lights flickered, and then, as suddenly as it had changed, it was normal again. I stood there for a long time, shaking, waiting for something else to happen. When nothing did, I grabbed my keys and left. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay here. I ended up at an all-night diner. I sat at a booth in the corner, clutching a cup of coffee, watching my reflection in the window. It was me again. Just me. I forced myself to take deep breaths, to calm down. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Sleep deprivation was warping my mind, twisting my perception. That's what I told myself. But then, I remembered the forum post. I had stumbled upon it during one of my desperate, late-night searches for answers. A thread about sleep paralysis, filled with stories from strangers all experiencing the same terrifying phenomenon. But one post stood out. They don't just stay in the paralysis anymore. They follow me now. They watch me, even when I'm awake. And the worst part? They know that I know they're there. At the time, I had dismissed it as paranoia, a product of someone else's sleep-deprived imagination. But now I wasn't so sure. I reached for my phone with shaking hands and scrolled back to that post. But it was gone. Not just the post, the entire thread. As if it had never existed. I stared at my screen, my stomach twisting into knots. Something was very, very wrong. And then, in the reflection of my phone screen, I saw something standing behind me. I froze. The reflection in my phone screen was faint, distorted, but the shape behind me was unmistakable. Too tall, too still, its head tilted at that unnatural angle. My fingers clenched around the phone. My breath hitched in my throat. Don't turn around. The thought came unbidden, instinctual. I didn't want to see it directly. I knew, somehow, deep in my gut, that if I looked at it head-on, something would change. The reflection shifted. It was leaning closer. My body moved before my brain could catch up. I pushed away from the table, nearly knocking over my coffee as I stood. The sudden motion sent a jolt of pain through my stiff, sleep-deprived muscles, but I didn't care. I turned. There was nothing there. The diner was the same as it had been moments before, dimly lit, half empty. The low hum of conversation and clinking silverware filling the air. A waitress passed by, barely sparing me a glance. No one else reacted. But I knew what I had seen. I grabbed my bag and left, stepping out into the cold night air. My hands were shaking. My thoughts were a tangled mess, logic and fear warring in my head. I needed help, not from a doctor, not from someone who would tell me I was just hallucinating, that I needed sleep and therapy. I needed to find someone who had seen them too. I pulled up my phone again and searched for that forum, for anything similar. If the thread was gone, maybe there were others. And then, almost immediately, I found something. A new post. It wasn't from the same forum, but the title stopped me cold. Do they follow you too? I clicked on it, my pulse racing. The post was short. I thought they only existed in my dreams, but now I see them when I'm awake. I don't know if they're real or if I'm losing my mind, but if you've seen them too, please, someone, tell me I'm not alone. There was a single reply. You're not alone, but if you can see them now, it's already too late. A chill crept up my spine. I checked the timestamps. The original post had been made just minutes ago, and the reply, it had been posted 1 second before I clicked on the page. As if something was watching me. I locked my phone and shoved it into my pocket. My breath came fast and shallow, my heart slamming against my ribs. I had to get out of here. I spent the night at a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. The room was small, stale-smelling, the kind of place where the walls were thin and the TV remote was sticky. But it had locks. It had no mirrors. That was enough. I forced myself to stay awake. I left the light on. I kept the TV playing at low volume to break the silence. And for the first time in weeks, I almost felt safe. Almost. At some point, exhaustion won. My eyes grew heavy, my body sinking into the stiff mattress. I didn't mean to fall asleep, but I did. I woke up to breathing. Not mine. The motel room was dark. The light I had left on was out. The TV was off, and I couldn't move. A familiar, crushing weight pressed down on my chest. My limbs were locked in place, my breath shallow, my body paralyzed. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. The room was silent, but I wasn't alone. Something was standing beside the bed, close. So close that I could feel the cold radiating off it. I couldn't see it clearly, but I knew it was watching me. And then, ever so slowly, it leaned down. A voice, low and distorted, like a broken radio, whispered in my ear. You never left. The paralysis broke all at once. I gasped, my body jolting upright, my fingers digging into the blankets. The light was back on. The TV was still playing. The room was exactly as it had been before, but something felt wrong. The air was too still. The colors were too muted. The silence between the sounds felt too deep. I looked at my phone. The date was wrong. It was a day behind. As if the last 24 hours had never happened. I reached for the door handle, my breath shallow, and when I opened it, the hallway was empty, not just quiet, not just abandoned. Empty. No furniture, no doors, No exit sign at the end, just an endless, blank hallway stretching into the dark. A low whisper echoed from behind me. You never woke up. The following are recovered journal entries and text messages from the missing person's phone, retrieved from an abandoned motel room. Journal entry, undated. I don't know what's real anymore. I left my apartment. I left the city. I thought if I got far enough away, I could escape. But no matter where I go, they followed. At first, they only appeared in the corners of my vision. Reflections, shadows, but now they're everywhere. Watching, waiting. I don't think I ever woke up. Text message, sent to an unknown contact. Are you there? Please answer. I don't know what's happening. I left, but it's wrong. The motel, the hallway, the door. It's all wrong. I think I'm still dreaming. Journal entry, timestamp, 3:42 a.m. I tried to leave the motel room, but there was no exit. The hallway stretched forever. No doors. No one. I turned back to my room. But when I stepped inside, it wasn't the same room anymore. Everything was slightly off. The bed, the walls, the light. Like a copy of my room, but not quite right. I checked my phone. The date was missing. Text message, sent to the same contact. I saw someone, or something, at the end of the hall. It looked like me. It smiled. Journal entry, final entry. I think I understand now. There was never an escape. They've been pulling me in for weeks, little by little, piece by piece. The paralysis was just the beginning. I don't think I exist in the real world anymore. I don't know if I ever did. If someone finds this, don't fall asleep. Final text message, drafted, but never sent. It's in the room with me. It's reaching for me. I see its face. Message unsent. Case notes. Local authorities report subject. Redacted status. Missing person, last known location. Abandoned motel room. Door locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. Belongings found. Cell phone. Battery drained. Messages recovered. Journal. Handwriting matches subject's previous records. Motel key on nightstand. No recorded check-in at the motel. Room was not registered to any guest. No known witnesses. Case remains open. No one ever saw the protagonist again. Their apartment was later cleared out, untouched, as if no one had lived there for months. The forum post that led them down this path? Gone. Their phone, once restored, showed no messages sent. The only thing left was the journal, and the last page was blank, except for a single, unfamiliar sentence written in a shaky hand. You never woke up. Maybe they were never asleep. Maybe they just never woke up. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying tales. What do you think happened to them? Was it all in their mind, or something far worse? Let me know in the comments. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next horror story.